Okay. Hi, and welcome to more Great Ace Attorney 2. Think we're getting into the next trial section? Yeah. Oh, yeah, we hit, like, a recess, didn't we? I think that's what happened. I made explicitly sure to refill my water bottle right before stream, so it's actually full instead of half full like it was the other day. Joyful, jubilant jumping jacks!
Oh, Mr. Natsume, I'm so pleased for you.
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, and non-locum judicial assistant Miss Mikotoba Esquires. Now, finally at long last, there can be proof. Proof that I'm innocent, and proof that my tea is innocent. Ah, good morning, my dear fellows. Ah, Airlock Sholmes. May you drink my tepid tea and fall over silent. Thought the tea was innocent.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you came. How wonderful.
Please, save your derision. I know what you're all thinking. Good morning, he says. Well, it's very nearly time for luncheon. Your scorn is written clearly across your faces. Nobody said or thought anything of the sort. You are late, though. The truth is, I was determined that today would be the day. As sleep seduced me last night, I thought. Tomorrow, for once, I shall not oversleep. I'll rise early and be present in court to support my companions. Such spirited determination has a beauty of all of its own, does it not?
Oh, yes.
And then I began to muse on the subject. Why do people oversleep, I queried. Why, time after time, do they make the same foolish blunder? And the answer came to me at once. It's so delightfully simple. People oversleep because they sleep. Well, is that not an astute insight into the matter? So to solve this, I stayed up all night. I'm running off of literally no sleep.
Oh, yes.
Upon which realization, I attempted an experiment. I didn't sleep a wink all night. Oh, wait. And the results. By first light, I was exhausted, and began to be assailed by fits of drowsiness. Shocking. And so, the conclusion of last night's experiment is this. A good night's sleep is quite simply essential. Yes, I think most of us probably knew that already. Pants Travaganza. I like your, I like that username. That's a good username. What others presuppose, I prove by experimentation. That, my dear fellow, is the scientific method. Ah, yes, and one more thing. Do you remember this?
Ah.
Yes, of course. It's the poison that Miss Green was about to drink at the hospital yesterday. Oh, you didn't manage to. It was a laborious task, as the bottle was near empty, but such inconveniences do not hinder Sholmes. I managed to confirm that it contained Strike 9. So I was right. Perhaps, though of course, each circumstantial... I read that as each? Perhaps, though of course, such circumstantial evidence doesn't prove Miss Green's guilt. I shall leave the bottle in your care now, but licking the inside of the neck is not recommended. Could I have a word? Who's this? Oh, can I have a word? Gregson, how good of you to come! Forget it. Excuse me. Wait a minute, Inspector. I don't wish to make a nuisance of myself. Look on your face, I'd say it's someone else who you think is making a nuisance of himself. My dear Inspector, please speak freely. Pretend I'm not here. Believe me, if I could do that, life would be a whole lot simpler for me.
Do you have the results, Inspector, of the investigation in Mr. Shamspeare's room?
Yet, shouldn't be long now, though. I'm here about something else. A dead convict, actually. Oh, you mean the man from this newspaper article we discovered yesterday in Mr. Shamspeare's room?
A man by the name of... Ah yes, Selden.
The archives of the yard and dug out the fellow's file. There's something in there that... well, it caught my eye.
Something caught your eye. What, Inspector, what?
I've copied out the relevant parts for you, so you can read it for yourselves. Thank you.
These documents include the details that were in the newspaper cutting we found in Mr. Shamspeare's room. I'll rearrange everything in the court record so we don't have duplicate information.
Why are you giving us a copy of this important file, though? Well, you're the ones who turned up the clue in the first place, aren't you? I'm just making sure things get handled in the proper fashion.
Oh, Scotland Yard's workings are so wonderful.
Indeed, my dear fellows, and the inspector here is a shining diamond in its crown. Shining diamond. In the rough, maybe. Look, still want to be beholden to a lawyer, that's all. Gregson's voice was kind of all over the place there. That's for the defense and the defendant. Court proceedings are about to resume. Make your way into the courtroom at once. Well, I shall leave you then. I'll be listening with interest from the public gallery. Not nodding off at all, certainly not. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. Rather tired of seeing I'm rather tired of seeing Mr. Mustache in flood of tears, personally. So, the best of luck to you. Sorry, give me a sec. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Yes, Mr. Natsume? It's time, isn't it? Yes, this is it. Miss Olive Green and Mr. William Shamspeare. This is going to be the final battle. Ugh, sorry I keep having to, like, pause. Okay. I won't really have saved Soseki-san. Until I've exposed the whole truth of everything that's been going on. But it's all coming to a head now. You can do it, Ryunosuke. You have to. I think I, like, slept weird this last night, because I've had a really bad crick in my neck all night, or all day, I guess, whatever. You know what I mean. name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again now. Before the recess, we heard a most startling accusation from the defense. Namely, that the victim of the case we'd heard here only a few days ago is the true perpetrator of this incident. A reckless, rash, and prejudiced charge of wrongdoing, in my opinion, my lord. However, I don't think you have the right to talk anything about prejudice, Mr. Van Zeeks here. The prosecution has tried to extend every courtesy to this amateur newcomer from dubious eastern shores.
Thank you.
A backhanded consideration. Rather cold assessment from the honorable British prosecutor, I must say. So, Lord Van Zeeks, is the new witness present and ready to take the stand? Ready and waiting in the witness's antechamber, my lord. Very well. Bailiff, bring the witness in. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court, please.
William Shamspeare, my liege. For mine occupation, I can say only, that I be a tragic victim to be pitied.
Currently unemployed, in other words.
I'm Olive Green. I'm a fledgling artist. Well, no. Not a fledgling, really. A hopeless failure who's too weak-spirited to admit she has no talent, I suppose.
Also, I should probably check this. Okay, 18 counts of burglary, 6 counts of suspected murder, died of natural causes while in prison, his final moments witnessed only by his cellmate. Estimated 1,000 pounds worth of loot he stole remains undiscovered. But undiscovered or unrecovered? Unrecovered. Manchester's Strangeways prison announced the death of a convicted murderer and burglar, Selden, in natural causes in the early hours this morning. He'd been suffering with a fever since the end of October. Alerted by the shouts of his fellow cellmate, medical staff arrived to find him already dead before his capital punishment could be carried out. Interesting. So this is the poison we've been hearing so much about. Strike 9. There are a few remnants in the bottom of the barrel, or bottom of the bottle here. Look.
You mustn't be tempted to try it.
Of course not. As long as we don't lose this trial. Don't make that joke. That's a bad joke. I'm mad at myself for laughing at that.
No, even if we lose the trial. No, we mustn't lose the trial in the first place, Mr. Naruhodo.
I really shouldn't have laughed at that. I feel bad for laughing at that. Your mind up, Susato-san. Also currently unemployed, in other words. Is that coterie? What a coterie? Mr. Shamspeare?
My lord, I am thy humble servant.
I'm afraid that you are no longer merely the victim in this affair. The possibility has been raised that you are in fact the assailant, intent on taking the life of your fellow lodger. The part you have played in this whole business will be thoroughly scrutinized, I assure you.
I would for naught else, my lord.
Miss Green?
Yes.
You're aware of the reason you've been summoned to this courtroom today, I presume?
Yes, the officer did explain.
Hey, Sachi, the joke about Ryunosuke, drinking the last bit of the Strike 9 if he fails the case. That was the joke I didn't want to... I laughed at, and then I was like, shit, I shouldn't be laughing at that. That's actually kind of fucked up.
He said I poisoned this ridiculous buffoon.
And? Do you accept the charge, Miss Green? Also, how are you doing, Sachi?
I don't know anything about any poisoning. And I don't know anything about this man.
Come, lady. Die to live. Verily, I know not thy prickly pea-pigmented personage. You have a puppy trying to bite your fingers, so tired. Very well, let us proceed with the matter at hand. That being to ascertain whether or not Miss Green has any involvement in this affair.
It's all very strange. Very strange indeed. Why would you suspect me? I barely ever go to the East End anyway. It so happens that I passed by that neighborhood 6 days ago, that's all. And on the night that this man was poisoned, I was still in hospital fighting for my life.
Yes, having been unfortunately caught up in the incident on the street outside the Garrideb household. An incident that rendered you unconscious for some 3 days.
I was struck in the middle of my back by a knife, through no fault of my own, and now I'm under suspicion. What other irrelevant things might I be suspected of? It's all very disturbing.
Your energies may be better spent worrying about random knife attacks, I feel, Miss Green. At this point in time, all that appears to connect you with Mr. Shamspeare's lodgings at Briar Road, or all that appears to connect you with Mr. Shamspeare's lodgings as the Briar Road incident of 6 days ago. That's why I'd like you to testify formally now about exactly what happened.
Oh no. The incident 6 days ago? You mean you want me to relive that awful accident?
Unfortunately, yes. Please tell the court what happened that day. And of course, we'll be interested to hear from you about your movements that day too, Mr. Shamspeare. But what happened 6 days ago has nothing to do with me being poisoned. Let us proceed then. Witnesses will present their formal testimony to the court on the subject of the incident that took place on Briar Road, the evening of the 17th of February. Also, I just realized I totally forgot to grab something before I started stream. I will be back in just a moment. I need to go and grab something real quick. Okay. Sorry about that.
It was 6 days ago. It was 6 days ago, at about 5 p.m. I was walking along in the snow when I was suddenly stabbed in the back. Coincidentally, it happened to be just outside the house where the men in this case have their lodgings.
I was at the tavern on the eve of which thou speakest, for I had bespoke my supper.
It was the first time I'd been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all. Anyway, I was admitted straight to the hospital, so I knew nothing about all this business.
Yes, a second incident inside a week at what I believe to be aptly described as the haunted lodgings. One can only presume that this is a most unfortunate coincidence. Meanwhile, you say you are not in your room, Mr. Shamspear. I swear, watch us find out in this case that it was actually Shamspear that stabbed Olive in the back. 'Twas the following morn when I did awaken that I learned of the dire events. Mary, what a commotion did the officers of the law make on the floor above mine. Soseki-san was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. As suspected, there's nothing connecting these two witnesses but happenstance. It's true. It does seem to be as though they're unrelated at first glance. But I'm not so sure. There's something lurking in the shadows here. I feel certain of it. And this is my one and only chance to expose it. Counsel, you may now cross-examine these two witnesses if you wish. Yes, my lord. Okay, so... I guess I should probably press through these.
It was 6 days ago at about 5 p.m. I was walking along in the snow when I was suddenly stabbed in the back.
Hold it! I'm well acquainted with the case. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
It was awful. I still can't believe I was unconscious for so long. And I woke up to find that the case had been solved and the culprit arrested.
Yes. The incident has been resolved already. Perhaps it would help you to consider it a bad dream that ended with your awakening, and should now be forgotten.
Yes, I suppose so. Thank you.
No thanks to you, Van-Zeeks. But before you put it completely behind you, Miss Green, I need you to remember the details one last time. You must tell the court exactly what happened that day for us to arrive at the truth about this new case.
The trouble is, there's nothing to tell, really. I was just walking along the pavement. Coincidentally, it happened to be just outside the house where the men in this case have their lodgings.
Hold it! What were you doing there that day, though?
What do you mean?
The art school you attend. What's it called?
Yes. It's the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. According to Mr. Sholmes, that's just in the vicinity of Brixton Road, which is some 10 stops away from the scene of the underground, or from the scene on the underground.
I believe you mentioned before that you also live on Brixton Road, isn't that right? The Thorn what? Yeah. Don't worry, I've been thinking that every time that the name of the academy has come up, Sachi. So why then would you have been walking along Briar Road in the middle of the East End?
Well, it's because, oh yes, of course. I thought it might make a nice picture.
The witness is a student of art. City-dwelling artists can't all paint grand urban vistas.
That's right. I happen to like the crumbling look of that part of town. And perhaps quaint would have been a less grating term.
The point is, she's definitely hiding something.
Yes, it seems she's not going to be forthcoming with the truth.
She's trying to hide why she was there that evening. It must mean there's a reason for her not wanting us to know. That's the key to this. And you, Mr. Shamspear, on the evening of the incident 6 days ago, would you tell the court what exactly you were doing? 'Twould be my pleasure, sire. I was at the tavern on the eve of which thou speakest, for I had bespoke my supper.
Hold it!
A tavern, you say? Which one? 'Twas the Slug and Salad where I did tarry. 'Tis a jewel of the East End. Little unexpected, I feel. What do you mean, Lord Van Zeeks? The Slug and Salad offers unusually fine dining. For the locality, at least. Not an establishment you'd expect to be patronized by a man with not even a crumb of bread in his room.
It's true. The menu lists premium crusts of bread and glasses of water in different levels of cloudiness.
Ew. I would have expected Grubb's Grubber in the local vicinity to be more appropriate for your means. Watery soup and mushy peas. Or rather, soupy water and pea-like mush. All equally appetizing. Thank you, Ryunosuke. Thank you for talking shit about mushy peas. They are the worst. I will stand by this statement. Mushy peas are like a British food, and they suck. They're basically just, hey, what if we took peas and, like, overcooked them? We boil them for so long that they lose all, like, consistency and just become a homogeneous mixture. All equally appetizing. I just wanted to try some water in a different pub for once. What's wrong with that? Hate overcooked veggies in general. Hey Taco, how are you doing? How different can water really be? As someone who lives in a part of the States that has absolutely atrocious tap water, yeah, it can make a big difference.
Or perhaps there's a more plausible explanation. A specific reason why he had to go to that particular establishment.
Agreed. The fact that on that day of all days, he dined at a place he wouldn't normally, it does stand out. So Mr. Shamspear's own actions on the day of the incident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. I wonder if we have some evidence that can explain those actions. Not at the moment because we don't have the other half of the letter. Wish we did, but sadly I can't think of anything at the moment.
If we find a clue that could explain why Mr. Shamspear went there, we must present it to the court.
Yes, absolutely. That is all on this matter, Counsel. I would ask Miss Green to reiterate her next statement.
It was the first time I'd been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all.
Hold it!
What little matter, Miss Green? Please elaborate.
It was nothing, really. It's not worth mentioning.
If you remember, you mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital. It was related to the card you were holding. Miss Green. What was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back. Also, why did the doctor's office have that big-ass bottle of Strike 9 for no reason? From memory, I believe the card contained a note that read, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross.
What does that matter? It has nothing to do with Duncan.
Excuse me.
Mr. Shamspear, do you have something to share with the court? To be, or not to be? That is the question. Ah, pray forgive me. The great bard's words springeth from within me, with ne'er a thought. Don't tell me. It's because you're possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right? Hearing Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps. Well, nay, sire. 'Twas nothing at all. Presumably you know the name, though. Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean. After all, you were both lodgers at the same house. I would it were so, but sadly nay. Lodging be a lonely occupation, sire. My lodging fellows be rarely known to me. So you haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours. Screen.
Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong?
Card that was mentioned before, containing the note. Do you have it upon your person?
I do, yes. But I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really.
Hey, Squiggles, how are you doing? Will you dispose of it? The court will take it as evidence, please. Of course. That's what links Mr. Shamspear and Miss Green. It's Duncan Ross. Oh, continue with your testimony, please, Miss Green. Okay, so I want to check. The envelope has been ripped open rather carelessly, hasn't it? Miss Green strikes me as the type to open correspondence more neatly than that. Ah.
What is it?
The way the envelope is torn, I'm almost sure I've seen that exact shape somewhere else.
Oh, you don't mean... Were you thinking of this piece of evidence, Mr. Naruhodo?
Exactly, that's it. Try to match them up.
They go together perfectly.
Yo, thanks for gifting a sub, Squiggles. Thanks for gifting a sub to Taco.
This torn off end of the envelope clearly belongs with this card.
Okay, so...
Hold it!
So I think it was this. I didn't notice that they were going down in pitch as it happened in that segment. It was a Windows update that messed up your keyboard? Mr. Shamspear. Yes, sire? On the day in question, is it not the case that you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize? For a very particular reason. I don't know what you're talking about. Pray, if thou hast some purpose, speakest. Hey, not normal AF. That's a good username. How are you doing? Welcome in. Finally beat this game. Nice. I'm enjoying this game a lot. You uninstalled the most recent non-security update and magically it's gone? Weird. Very well. I'll present the court with evidence. Evidence that explains why you had to be at the Slug and Salad on that day. Namely...
Take that!
I believe this card reveals the answer. I'm very excited for the Apollo Justice trilogy, because, like, I've played most of Apollo Justice. I haven't played, I've seen 90% of Dual Destinies. I think I've seen everything in Dual Destinies except for the DLC case. And I have seen very little of Spirit of Justice. And so I'm excited for it. It also means that I didn't have to jury rig up a way to stream it on 3DS. That would have been a pain in the ass. I will still have to do that for the Layton crossover though, which I do intend to play eventually. Because I like that game. I really like that game. Good lord, Miss Green's card, you mean? That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Yeah, the Layton crossover is so good. People, like, okay, I will say, it's definitely not the most airtight, like, story-wise game, but it's still got a lot of heart in it. And it's also very, like, I love the Professor Layton games. Or, well, the first 3 that I've played, but... The not dead man a witness or a suspect? Both. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It's a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Shamspear, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Personally, I find it hard to believe that it's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shamspear? Like the Layton games, but don't have enough brain power to solve the puzzles. Honestly, the biggest thing with the Layton games is that they kind of start dropping off in difficulty once you get past the first one. The first one's puzzles are really hard, and then Diabolical Box gets easier, and then Unwound Future gets slightly harder, and then from what I've heard, it's straight easier from Unwound Future forward. And I'm very much looking forward to Professor Layton and the New World of Steam. Well...
Excuse me. Can I say something?
Yes, Miss Green?
That card was delivered to me. It doesn't have anything to do with this odd man, does it?
Well, you'd think so, yes. But it's hard to believe it's merely...
My lord, may I?
You what, Miss Green? Why is she painting in the middle of a courtroom? It's an ace attorney.
I'd like to make something very clear about that card.
Very well then, you may amend your testimony. Include details about the peculiar note.
This note was delivered to me at my address. There's nothing to do with the odd man next to me.
Well, that's just factually incorrect, buddy.
Objection!
Well, you've got, you've got Franziska, who uses a whip in court. You've got Godot, who throws hot coffee at you in court. I guess you have a Clavier, who air guitars in court, but that's not bringing you bodily harm. But you've got a what's-his-face from Spirit of Justice that throws beads at you that constrict around you. The day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address. There's also a weeaboo prosecutor, and he's great. Same prosecutor whipped the judge, bro. Yeah, she did do that. A lot. And upon carrying out the instructions in the note, you found yourself in hospital. In hospital.
Yes, I did. It's terrible, everything that's happened to me.
Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is.
What do you mean?
Miss Green, have a look at this, please. It's the torn off end of an envelope.
Oh, is it?
And it so happens that it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received.
Where did you find that?
I was like, wait a second, Squiggles, we haven't played that game yet, but, no, you're talking about Iris. I thought you were talking about fucking Ted Tonate from, from Dual Destinies. In Mr. Shamspear's room. Kazuma did cut someone's hair with the sword of their clan. In my room? Mr. Shamspear. Iris does love herself a pipe bomb, yeah. Only know what you've seen on stream. Yeah, there's a character from the first case of Dual Destinies that's literally a bomb disposal expert. Do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere? Well... Your actions that afternoon follow the instructions on the note to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. And so that's exactly where you went. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shamspear. You already knew about this note, didn't you? We'll be getting to Dual Destinies eventually. And you, Miss Green.
What did I do?
As this torn off end of the envelope proves, people are gonna get mad at me because I pronounce it both envelope and envelope. The note was originally in Mr. Shamspear's room. So how is it that it came to be in your possession?
I don't have the first idea. I'm just a fledgling artist after all.
There's only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shamspear's room and stole it. You did what? Sorry, thou hast what? You broke, thou were in my room? What on earth do you want with me? It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again. Miss Green.
Yes.
Whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure for the suffering you have endured in recent events, whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you have endured in recent events, anyone found to be given false testimony in a court of law will be duly punished. I'm gonna hold you to that, buddy. Please bear that in mind.
Yes, I know.
Well then, witness, you'll give formal testimony again now. On the subject of this curious anomaly regarding the note Miss Green claims to have received. I cannot do a British accent, unfortunately. Or, well, not a very good one. I've done attempts at them when I streamed Xenoblade, but they're very, like, come and go. I can't really do them on command. They just kind of show up occasionally. I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago, peradventure, that note was delivered unto me. On the day writ therein, I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening, I shared the company of the Japanese fellow. I did see the note had vanished.
I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? I can point out the villain here, and as for that torn-off piece in the envelope, I don't know anything about it.
Now claim to have received this letter, do you, Mr. Shamspear?
Faith, 'tis so, my lord. And I would swear to have set it upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet, 'tis clear to me now that since I returned from the tavern that night, I have not laid eyes upon it.
Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was...
A lie? Is that what you think? How unfair you to think I'm the one lying.
I beg your pardon?
I'm just a fledgling artist, as I said, and fledgling artists don't lie. That note was delivered to me at my address. Besides, we all know who the liar around here is.
If that's true, Miss Green, how do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was without question found in Mr. Shamspear's room.
I don't see why I should explain.
Sorry?
I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is to just say what happened, that's all. It's your job to give the explanations and the proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer.
Fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth. Well, counsel? I'm ready, my lord. Very well, then, the defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witness.
Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shamspear's room. There can be no question of that. And that's how she acquired the note.
Yes, two facts that are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all this. It's not a pretty one.
I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago, peradventure, that note was delivered unto me.
Hold it!
And can you shed any light on the contents of the note at all?
Nay, sire, 'tis as strange to me as a foreign tongue. Even with a knowledge of literature as great as mine, or as great as mine own, verily 'tis impenetrable.
Who's the defendant? So Seki Natsume, the, this guy. But Mr. Duncan Ross had lodgings in the same household as you. In effect, he was your neighbor, so surely you knew him, didn't you? Noodles and fake little boba kits. Nice. I've only ever had boba tea once. It was pretty good. In effect, he was your neighbor, so surely you knew him, didn't you?
Alack, if the choice is betwixt I knew him,
and knew him not. Then 'tis with foreboding that I be forced to declare that we were by some small measure acquainted. Despite your claims, though, you followed the note's instructions and went to the Slug and Salad. Presumably that was nothing to do with your knowledge of literature. Mary, naught will have the better of me, sire, save for the lure of curiosity. So 'tis true, I was compelled by mine own eager heart to betake myself to the tavern. Yet in the end, my curiosity was not satiated. On the day writ therein, I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came.
Hold it!
So even after waiting for an hour, nobody appeared? I haven't played any of the games that Catriel is in. So even after waiting for an hour, no one appeared. Well, yes, sire. 'Tis as thou sayest. Really? You paused for a moment before you answered. In truth, when thou asked whether nobody appeared, I did suddenly recall. Really? Do you mean to tell the court that somebody did appear after all? I was not alone that night at the Slug and Salad, my lord. No, 'tis returning to me now. I did treat my lips to almost clear water, and mine innards to a premium crust of bread. And all around me danced a great many companions. What do you mean? Flies, sire, flies. Good lord. In the name of Beelzebub, what were they? Fairies, perchance, from a midsummer night's dream, come to taunt me. I think they were just flies.
I can't help thinking that the flies ought to choose something more wholesome to buzz around. Is that wrong of me?
Thereafter, on the evening, I shared the company of the Japanese fellow. I did see the note had vanished.
Hold it!
When exactly did you notice it had gone missing? Such idle thoughts ne'er occupy my mind. I am busied with greater ideas. Sad. In other words, you didn't notice. Several days passed between your outing to the tavern and Mr. Natsume's visit to your room. Yes, it would appear that the note disappeared sometime in that interval. Such idle thoughts ne'er occupy my mind. I don't know how long is left in this case, but I'll probably start the third case if this one ends. Especially since we're only an hour into stream, and I usually stream for about 3 to 3.5 hours. Such idle thoughts ne'er occupy my mind. I'm busied with greater ideas. Yet during that time, Miss Green was comatose in the hospital, was she not? Really then, she could not have been stealing things from Mr. Shamspeare's room.
Yes, of course. It's all some sort of misunderstanding. Isn't it, Mr. Prosecutor, sir?
You've so far failed to give a satisfactory explanation as to how you came by the note. I'm not here to advocate for your defense, madame. I won't tolerate any inconsistencies in your story. You would do well to remember that.
Oh, dearie me.
You have 132 hours on this game. What's Lord Van Zeek's getting at? I think the Great Ace Attorney 1 took me 13 episodes. to finish. And this one already feels like it's going to take longer because this case 2 is significantly longer than case 2. This case 2 is taking significantly longer than the one in the first Great Ace Attorney.
Hold it!
Oh, whoops.
I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I?
It seems that this note was actually delivered to Mr. Shamspear about 1 week ago.
Oh, does it?
But for some reason, it ended up in your possession. I can't think of any way that could have happened except for you breaking into Mr. Shamspear's lodgings.
Objection!
But for what reason would the witness have done that? I won't deny that Miss Green's possession of the note would appear to defy logic. However, until and unless her involvement in this case can be proven in some other way, any further pursuit of this note is meaningless.
Miss Green could only have come to be in possession of the note by stealing it from Mr. Shamspear's room.
That was slightly too high-pitched, but...
And yet, there's no obvious reason why she would have done such a thing.
She put anthrax in the letter. Now, it would have had to been strike 9. What if there was some other reason she broke into his lodgings, though?
Yes, we should pursue that idea, Mr. Naruhodo.
We're close now. I can feel it. We're so close to a breakthrough.
I can point out the villain here, and as for that torn-off piece of the envelope, I don't know anything about it.
Hold it!
So you don't want to tell the court the truth about the letter, is that it?
I'm a fledgling artist, remember? Artists are nearly always introverted characters.
I know a couple of extroverted artists. Introverted? Fie! This fledgling doth readily cast aspersions about my nature. Yet I'm an angel, a seraph. Birds do harmonize with my song. The wind doth frolic on my wing. Oh, pity, wherefore dost thou accuse one so pure of heart, ample woman?
Pure of heart? I don't think so. Even a fledgling like me can see you're just a failure.
Tragedy. Thou shalt know naught of the true heart of an artist, until thine instruction hereafter by death. Oh, the days, oh, the years, alas, to enlighten thee, thou must wait so long and in vain.
Mr. Naruhodo, inject with some clever remark. This is your chance to shine.
I'm no Shakespearean actor, Miss Susato. No, as far as I can tell, the only thing that's going to resolve this argument
is evidence. Yes. It's clear that Miss Green did in fact break into Mr. Shamspear's room, isn't it? And that's where she found this letter.
Yes, two more or less foregone conclusions that lead me to one terrifying conclusion.
Terrifying?
Yes, I'm afraid to say. The outcome of this cross-examination may well change how we look at this case completely. Okay, so... Thereafter, on the evening I shared the company of the Japanese fellow, I did see the note advanced. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? I will say, I am a little bit sad that there isn't a whole lot of new music in this game. I do really like the cross-examination theme from The Great Ace Attorney. I just kind of wish that there was new. Huh. Why do we still have these? So, I want to say that it is this.
Objection!
Nope. My lord, there are clearly grounds for being suspicious of that last statement. Sorry, counsel, but I fail to see why. Well, you know, I was just playing the devil's advocate. Yes, you do appear to have something of the devil in you, Mr. Naruhodo. Is the man merely dishing out penalties? See, this is the statement that I think I need to present something to. I hate that my brain is thinking that I might just need to send the card again.
Objection!
But the card is your reason. Gotta love getting stuck. So we've pressed every statement. I've already taken a look at this. What is the... Day right there, and I did Terry long hour at the same salad. A week ago, per adventure. So it took me. I'm genuinely a bit stumped here, like, not the bottle. I already presented the bottle of poison, right?
Objection!
Yesterday at the hospital, we saw you with this bottle. And though the contents spilt during the course of our meeting, a small quantity remained. According to the defense's independent analysis, Mr. Sholmes' chemistry set, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified as Strike 9. What? Strike 9? The very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspear. Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings for one reason and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shamspear's room with poison. Can this be? You broke into my room to... May seem incredible to the court. But from the remaining clues, there's only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shamspear's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dearie, me.
He hasn't painted anything on the easel, it's just blank. Order, order, or canvas, not easel. Easel is the thing that holds it. Counsel, Counsel, are you seriously suggesting that this woman put poison on the end of the gas pipe with intent to kill? Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts. Miss Green did indeed set this odious trap 6 days ago, and the victim had put his mouth to the pipe that very evening as expected. Attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely. Well... That's a very good point. Perhaps not, my lord. I beg your pardon. There was a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at that time. Lord Van Zeeks.
And of course, the following morning there was more activity at Mr. Shamspear's address.
More activity? Ah, yes. You mean his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder?
That's right. And as the defense has already proposed, Mr. Shamspear was meddling with the gas in the pipe for a very sinister reason himself. To cause the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant.
But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shamspear had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe. His intended victim being in a prison cell, with the need to tamper with the gas removed, poison on the pipe lay dormant.
And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again.
Right. Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end. Trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duly acquitted. That resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out. Mr. Shamspear was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room some 4 days earlier.
Mary!
That wasn't your voice.
Mary!
With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan. What plan? The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the Slug and Salad at 5 o'clock. And the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for those instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time. To make sure I wasn't home. Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that letter was written by Miss Green, yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. Order! Order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness? Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me? Miss Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So, that's what's behind all this. Share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life?
Take that!
Duncan Ross. That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsume, took up residence in the lodging at Mr. Garrideb's, somebody else was renting the room, Mr. Duncan Ross. Knew I'd heard the name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when the man died in strange circumstances at that haunted lodgings. That does ring a vague. Ah, of course, yes, I remember now. Young man they claimed was strangled by the convict's curse or some such. Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shamspear blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple.
Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, curious deaths. That's all people care about. If it's an interesting story, they want to know. It doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story's lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him.
You mean Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shamspear. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy. The murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry.
Mary?
Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamspear, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe? It's all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder. Yes, my lord. That's correct.
Objection!
Hailing so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shamspear have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusation against the man.
Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance. And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruhodo, sir. But I don't intend to admit to anything either.
Miss Green. I just like scratched my nail against some weird texture in it. Ugh.
I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
But you broke into the man's room. If you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what was your reason?
I thought I'd have a look around. That's all.
Sorry?
You're right. I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life.
Oh vileness, oh villainy, oh tyranny, oh rotundity of woman. But in any case, whene'er I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock.
That whole place is falling apart. The locks on the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door, with some terps and a piece of wire.
Oh awfulness, oh artfulness, oh tyranny, oh profanity of woman. We'll consider your trespassing on some future occasion. But for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed.
Well, I spotted the note I'd sent him lying on the floor. When I went to pick it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it I discovered a secret hiding place.
Yeah? Yes, we also discovered that hiding place.
Inside, we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Yes. Well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty.
What? There's something in it.
Yes. This rather nice key.
Ah! What are you doing with that? What the?
Every ounce of color is drained from his face.
Give it here! Give it to me now! It's mine! I inherited it! What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it.
No,
What's all this about? You inherited that key?
It was obviously important to you since you've gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care.
Give it back this minute. Give it to me. Calm yourself, witness. So Mr. Shamspear has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shamspear, at first. But considering everything we know now, or now know, I think there's actually something that could explain it. What? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal, everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure that I just caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all of these events. In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court to support your claim. What is it that you say can explain the motivation for Mr. Shamspear's alleged crimes?
Take that!
That's official police report, is it not? The Selden file? How did you get a hold of that? Selden? The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant, Mr. Natsume, have only one thing linking them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room. Well, yes. Oh, this certainly. The room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. I see. And it so happens that the convict, Selden, left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. The sum of, £1,000 worth of loot that he stole, which as yet remains to be found. Ah, yes, of course. It's coming back to me now. It's written in this file here. £1,000 lost en route to hell. That was how the papers summed it up. Back. It seems that one peculiar fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Selden entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret. Yeah. Got eyelashes in my eye. Thank you for the hydrate, Squiggles. Oh, completely random thing. I've been working on something today. Something very special for stream. It's gonna take a little bit, but it's in a functional state currently, and that's all I can say about it yet. It's not hard to imagine Selden entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret. The location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key to unlock whatever container the valuables were in. Who's Selden? You don't remember this case? He's the guy that, I don't even think he has a profile in the, yeah, he doesn't even have a profile. He's literally just a burglar by the name of Selden, and that's about it.
You mean this key is...
Mr. Shamspear, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What are you talking about? 'Tis false charge, I tell you. A false charge. The name of the inmate who is with Selden and his death isn't noted in this file. But a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. And if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden hid his loot. So, it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shamspear's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. When he was let out of prison, following Selden's death, he made immediately for Mr. Garrideb's lodgings in the hope of renting Selden's old room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice. Because Selden's old room had already been let to someone else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shamspear subsequently devised his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching into the newly vacant room. I just realized I still have randomizer in my tags from when I did Link to the Past randomizer last. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it. Mr. Soseki Natsume, defendant of this case, no less. So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shamspear? This time to out Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and avaricious reason. Avaricious is a good word. To get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot left behind by the dead convict. You... Looks like I'm gonna snuff it. Looks like I'm gonna snuff it. I get this. Search the stash. Listen, I want you to have me loot. Thing to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging. You got me here. Here is the key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shamspear. It's mine. What did he just say? It's mine. That loot is mine. Mr. Shamspear? It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Forsooth, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me. For the time being, anyway. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close. I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. Do you really think I'd just give up? No question in my mind now. This man is guilty through and through.
But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruhodo.
There is a way.
Pardon?
There's one way I can finish him.
No.
He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot. Which means all we need to do is find it first. Fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule.
If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly.
This is the final piece in this complex puzzle. But I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may well have something that can help us find where the loot is hidden. My lord. Yes, counsel? The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we're already in possession of something that could give us a clue as to its whereabouts. Hey Steve, how are you doing? It's our last chance, so it has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we've used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then. Thought I had finished this? The case or the game? Because if you're talking about the game, this is the second one. This is Great Ace Attorney 2. And if you're talking about the case, trust me, I thought I was finished with the case as well. Very well then, counsel. Let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased convict's hole? Is it this? Is it the stupid board here? Are they stupid enough to not check behind the board? Why do... Okay, genuinely, why do we still have these? Picture of Monsieur Lecoq. This is a secret tool that will help us later. I want to say that it's this, just because this is the only thing that I can think of that would point to a spot. But this is Shamsphere's room and not Natsume's room. He really did leave all of his treasure in one piece. I'm gonna go ahead and send... confidence save, because I'm very confident in my answer, don't you know? Oh, wait, maybe it's this? Because maybe presenting this will bring up the suggestion that it's hidden under the floorboards.
Take that!
This is my proposal, my lord. Good gracious. We can't use that, can we?
Objection!
I have another idea. Stop wasting the court's time with this senseless rubbish. That is my proposal, my Nipponese friend. His proposal was better.
We've already found one secret hiding place during the course of our investigations, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, I suppose we have. Though someone else beat us to it.
The findings from the method we used are still in the court record, however, aren't they?
Oh, okay.
I believe it's worth proposing proposing the same method again now.
That makes sense, but at the same time, Van Ziek's, like,
Take that!
threw it out. If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shamspeare's handprints on the wall of his lodgings. That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene.
Based off a wonderful new discovery in the field of forensic science by the great detective, Mr. Sholmes.
Great detective? Is that some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspeare. Perhaps we should compete for the honor of most ridiculous title. Ah, 'tis Herlock Sholmes himself. What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy backstreets of the capital, are they not? Ah, Mr. Reaper, it's been too long. And I see your complexion has worsened since last we met. Mr. Sholmes! He does know Lord Van Zieks, then? Well, enough to say something like that in any case. Mr. Sholmes, you may be heralded as a great detective by the population at large. Not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit.
If I may, my lord. Mr. Sholmes' a newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover some vital clues with this case already.
Did you say? I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. It's the method by which we were able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. You need only a small sample of something the individual has previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you'd been holding. Elementary. So now, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. This isn't the gay ship you mentioned earlier, but do you think Sholmes has done detective work on Van Zieks' body? You know, here's the thing. You say that, Sachi, 100%. I think Sholmes is too dense to understand the subtext. I think that he would genuinely, like, someone would use that as a pickup line, and he would genuinely try to do science on them. Or detective work. I think Sholmes is that dense. Like, he's got really good intuition, but he's also kind of an idiot, and I love him. Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what was now Soseki-san's room. I need a sample to help locate Selden's loot. that's hidden in his old room. What form will the sample take? Present a person? Oh, wait. We'll need something of Selden's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot. And something the convict owned happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain a possession of the late convict, Selden, to create an indicator solution?
Take that!
Miss Green.
Me? What do you want with me?
The key around your neck, if you please.
Sorry?
That key belonged to Selden. There will be remnants of the secretions from the man's skin on its surface that we can use. Very true. That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Selden touched in the room that he used to rent. Mr. Shamspear, as one great to another, I assure you. If the late convict's haul is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes. So, Mr. Shamspear, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth.
In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key.
No! Give the key to me! The detective shan't have it! It's over, Mr. Shamspear.
No, no.
You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt.
Whoa. Oh, shameful spear, despair, be thy name.
I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room. That's all. So you'd have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods? Yet, after you'd killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room.
I'd asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused.
Why?
It was 3 months I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing.
Mr. Garrett really has a lot to put up with. Or has had a lot to put up with.
And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterward, putting the room out of action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in just at the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume. What unfortunate timing. Then, 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road, when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally have my chance, but it wasn't to be.
No. The scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day.
And if I remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot.
Which is why, on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his home, or room, You once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap.
William Shakespeare. How does it go? To be or not to be? That is the question.
From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1.
Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be. That is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done.
Where did you get your hands on Strike 9?
At first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died.
Gas supply in my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive.
The gas supply?
Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason.
That's no joke.
They say it's the convict's curse.
Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is.
Alright then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place. There are spare rooms at my house.
There are spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight?
No, I'd better not. We said we'd wait until we graduated before we told our parents, remember?
But that was the last time we ever spoke. That very night, he fell victim to the gas. If only I'd known it was going to happen, I'd have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school, but something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. I saw a stooped, Eastern-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up the road to Grubb's Grubbery for some food, so I followed him and sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with the publican.
That place is cursed, I tell you. Cursed. The ghost of that convict who used to live there is trying to suffocate me. I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas, and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked. No problem there. It's like I'm the problem. That's what they're thinking.
But how could that be? Duncan was gone, and now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered. A rumor I'd heard about how the gas companies go around investigating the gas installations.
You mean...
Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems, about how they go around checking the pipes.
How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework.
And that's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind that just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident, though? Once I'd had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End.
Black market?
I'd never been. I just heard people talk about them. And you really can buy anything you can think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out, one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident, or was it murder?
Your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait. If Mr. Shamspear was innocent, nothing would come of what you'd done. But if he was guilty, he'd pay for his crimes dearly.
I found out the name of the man I suspected. William Shamspear. And then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody about this letter or the meeting. It's a matter of utmost importance. If he'd done it, I knew that would worry him enough, so he'd be sure to go. So I waited to see if it worked.
And of course, Mr. Shamspear followed the instructions to the letter.
It worked. I worked out where the gas pipe was straight away. So I smeared a good amount of the poison I'd bought all around the mouth of the pipe. All the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done, and that it was just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and that the culprit would get his just desserts.
"3 days ago, you first stood in the dock before me. This whole affair seemed relatively straightforward.
Yes, my lord.
I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It has been a long road, my Nipponese friend."
Oh, yes.
"And one that I certainly didn't envisage walking with you. Nevertheless, together we have reached the light, the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green,
Yes, my lord.
you will henceforth be stripped of your freedom as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamspear.
Yes, I know.
You, Mr. Shamspear, will be tried for the murder of Duncan Ross in cold blood. The subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Soseki Natsume here present.
Mr. Narahodo,
Yes?
yesterday, at the hospital, when you and your friends stopped me from
Ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle.
I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. That's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems.
Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green.
Oh?
And I'd like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamspear didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least.
Because of you, I chose life, not death. And now, you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green.
Mr. Soseki Natsume,
Yes, my lord.
Court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, we would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict of not guilty. We're in full agreement, my lord. In that case, I hereby declare the defendant not guilty. Court is adjourned. Indoor pyrotechnics. Yeah, those were in the first game too.
Oh, yes. Yes, at last. Divine justice duly done.
Divine justice. My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would shave that mustache.
No, this has nothing to do with my mustache. And some say that a luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Sholmes. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Once again, you've saved me from doom.
Very happy to have been of help, Mr. Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal. You're second in almost as many days.
I was first acquainted with and gained affection for English literature whilst in our great homeland empire. And then, by a twist of fate, I was brought to the land that bore the fruit of that literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. In the end, I confined myself to my room and lived life through friendly old books. You've had such a difficult time, haven't you?
Ah, but a week ago now. I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not?
You did. And I've seen more of life in this week than in all my years to date. And for the first time, I feel I've begun to see the true face of the English that's so far been hiding from me behind the wall of fog.
My dear fellow, there's nothing special about the true face of the English, as you put it. Wheresoever one goes in the world, humans are human. There are few genuine differences.
Yes, I think you're right. I've finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. I've worked out why I was so attracted to English literature in the first place. It made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans all have the same hopes and fears. We're all just doing our best to live.
Well said. I've come to feel the same way.
I've made a decision too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here and return to Japan.
What?
Just when we become friends here in England. What a terrible shame. Oh, I know. That does tug at my heartstrings, it really does. But I've decided I'd like to take everything I've learned here in Britain and write something of my own. A novel of sorts, I suppose. Oh my! So you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume? How wonderful. Oh, well, no, I mean, I wouldn't presume to call it literature.
Why not?
Ow.
When that is precisely the definition, Mr. Mustache.
I suppose you're right, yes. It will, in a way, be literature. But as of now, all I know is that I'd like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur. I, for one, would love to read your work.
Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you have once again emerged victorious from a battle with the Reaper. Ah, that's very true.
And there's no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the prosecutor.
The desire to return post-haste to the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand.
My goodness, yes. Faced with such a terrifying prospect, nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure.
But that's not why I'm leaving. I mean it. Objection. That was the case that we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago now. So Seki-san did indeed return to Japan and submitted a report about both cases to the government. It was on reading that report that Professor Mikotoba was prompted to visit the scholar. Barely any time later, Susato-san was given the news that she must return to Japan as well. On the back of a telegram stating falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial on the following day. The day that we uncovered the loot hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings.
Oh, well done, Mr. Sholmes. How simply marvelous of you. To uncover the secret hiding place in just one day.
Isn't it supposed to take 30 minutes? As I believe I told you, my dear fellows, skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson?
Gregsy's been happily munching in agreement this whole time, you know, Hurley. Happily? I think perhaps humorlessly might be closer to the truth.
So, it transpires that the man fashioned a hiding place in the ceiling. And what's in it? What exactly is the loot? Let us look then, if you're ready. Let's examine the late burglar's haul. What the? What is that?
It looks to be some sort of neckband or collar.
Wait. Okay, stupid thought here immediately. The other story that Sholmes was like, Iris, we cannot publish this story, was a story by the title of The Hound of the Baskervilles. This makes me think that the B stands for Baskerville, and that this is a dog's collar. A collar? It's huge, though.
And look at the gemstone set in it. I can see why it was claimed to be worth 1,000 pounds. Perhaps I could have it as a belt. Oh, have you noticed the inside there? There are some dark stains.
You don't think it could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it.
On second thoughts, perhaps I wouldn't have it as a belt. And then of course, there's this emblem here. A large letter B and a small crown.
What does it signify, do you think?
Oh, I hadn't noticed that. I feel as though I've seen that emblem somewhere before, you know? Where could it have been?
That's enough of that, I think. What? What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes? All the color is drained from his face. Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, oughtn't you? It could be valuable evidence, after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key. Ah, yes. Get your grubby hands off that, you lot. Hand it over, now. never seen a collar that large before. And all those jewels certainly look to be extremely valuable. That's not what stood out the most to me. At least not once I'd noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar. Those stains. Could they really have been blood?
Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now.
You look very pleased, Iris.
I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use the basis of this month's story in the magazine.
Or what I could use as the basis.
But this case will be perfect. It's been so fascinating.
You're talking about the latest installment of the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, I presume?
The mystery of the knife in the mist, and the mustached man in the convict's curse, perhaps. It could make a two-part story. Oh, I can't wait.
A word, please, Iris.
Yes, what is it, Hurley?
I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question.
What? Why not? It's a great case.
Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear?
Yes.
And so it was that the second of Souseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again, with an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
Return of the Great Departed Soul. Interesting.
The grand end of the century Great Exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe had converged on Hyde Park, welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few are aware my friend Mr. Sherlock Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the great exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the crystal tower itself, brought the truth to light.
How was the last case conclusion? I enjoyed it.
We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people. The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world. Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies. And today, we showcase even more advanced technology. A glimpse into the future. A world first. A demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine! A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and beamed to another location. Whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before. In but a few moments from now, this gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air. To arrive an instant later on the Crystal Tower behind you!
This one, yes! Whoa!
This feels like the intro to the third Professor Layton game.
Please, that's not what I wanted!
Runo, are you listening?
It does have that vibe. Like, it's very similar vibe. Oh, sorry, was that Iris?
What's the matter with you? You've been miles away all morning. Didn't you like what I cooked for breakfast?
No, that's not it at all. What were we talking about again?
Today's paper. It's full of news about the Great Exhibition again.
Yes, the Great Exhibition. I'd like to go sometime.
You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley?
Did you say something, Iris?
Oh gosh, you're even more down.
When did you arrive, Mr. Naruhodo? I've been here for about half an hour already. We had breakfast together. What? Why didn't you mention it before? I, thought you might have known I was here? No, because breakfast? Iris is quite right. You're clearly lacking in vim, so much that I didn't notice your presence. Thanks. Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with some simple observations. What? Let's see. Yes, for example, your tousled hair this morning with all its unruly spikes. Clearly it can be deduced, therefore, that... let me stop you there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has, ever since we first met, in fact. Oh, really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Thanks again. It crossed my mind recently that it's been 6 months now.
6 months.
Since I was forbidden from working in court. So I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned.
Oh, well, that would explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley?
Did you say something, Iris? Back to moping. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems even more down in the dumps than me.
know, and the Great Exhibition is opened. You'd think he'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go and see it together?
I want to, of course I do. But I can't. Not for the time being. Why not? Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective, after all. So you're embroiled in some tricky case that you can't be distracted from? Is that it?
I don't remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley.
Suppose I should try to find out what's going on. Half a year ago now. Took on the defense of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at a London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much more far-reaching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable, yet at the same time unforgivable mistake. Words fail me. The situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, my lord. Decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord. What was it that you were punished for? I actually genuinely don't remember. And I had my right to represent people in court revoked. I was told I had to spend my time in research and study, so that's what I've been doing.
You have, haven't you, Runo?
Oh, okay. It was covering for Susato. Okay, yeah, the cat door. Tampering with the crime scene. I thought it was the whole threatening to leak confidential documents thing.
If reading all those big fat tomes about British law up in your room, and the notes about Sholmes's old cases.
Brewing Iris's special blends of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. You've become something of a manservant around here. Start on the silverware next, Master Naruhodo. Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider. Specifically Lord Strongheart at the British Supreme Court on Whitehall.
Lord Strongheart?
Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favorite fellow. It's not mine either. He's the man I have to talk to. He's the only one who can grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could. And I can't do that just sitting around here. The whole of London has been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it? The most advanced science, the most modern technology, the finest works of art and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things, and the world will be watching.
Oh, do you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of the lovely balloons.
Look down on... Do you mean those things? Why?
Yes, of course. They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air.
But how? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? It makes no sense. Can't understand it at all.
That's true of a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first.
Have you ever thought about how, like, fucking bizarre hot air balloons are as, like, a concept? Like, the fact that hot air balloons, like, work, period, is absolutely baffling when you think about it for more than 10 seconds. Like, how is it that you can get a balloon, set a fire underneath it, tie a basket to the balloon, and the balloon will carry you? Just because of the air rising from the hot air, like,
But in 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge.
I suppose they might be.
Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seems very questionable. And something went wrong in the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently. There was a huge explosion. And still, I wish I'd seen it, though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scam experiments really are.
The innocent 10-year-old girl. See here. Every page of this paper carries some article or other about the Great Exhibition. But the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is my proper atmosphere. Shadows cast behind. Is that a metaphorical way of referring to the back page of the newspaper? Every article on the front page is news about the Great Exhibition. Public experiments to demonstrate brand new scientific ideas, cultural exhibits from around the globe. It's also positive and hopeful about the coming century. We must all go and see it properly before too long. So many glowing reports about the Great Exhibition. Everything going on there. Other than this rather gloomy-looking one, that is. Wait, what?
What's the matter, Bruno?
The Reaper attacked. That's Lord Van Zeeks. This must be what Mr. Sholmes was talking about. Does he know any more, I wonder? Are you investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes? You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add? It's not like you. Shh. Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo. We must not discuss it here. You never know who might be listening.
You're acting very strangely, Hurley.
What do you mean, Iris?
Well, usually... the more mysterious and complicated a case is, the better Hurley's mood.
Ah.
Is it really a case that's bothering you?
Iris, please. You mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. Remember what I always say. Put yourself in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions. You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes. Never mind. Once I've had a cup of tea, I must make my way at once to the crime scene. It's a deep sigh.
Hurley, I need you to tell me the truth, otherwise you might find something underneath your pillow tonight.
Iris, I don't think you have the guts to leave a pipe bomb under my pillow.
Oh yeah?
It says in the paper that Lord Van Zeeks was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yes, Prosecutor Barrick Van Zeeks. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. London's finest rogues always find ways around the law. They'll stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as these cannot save them from the hand of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. If a leader among their fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So, do you mean... Lord Van Zeeks has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time? He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take these attacks lying down. Although, it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. Oh my goodness! Is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zeeks hurt? My dear fellow, how on earth would I know?
Well, in the article here it says, as to what of Lord Van Zeeks and his condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow's morning edition.
Ah, I see. Well, we shall have to be patient then. No. I can't wait until tomorrow. In that case, you shall have to inquire with somebody in the know. But who? Lord Strongheart, perhaps? Look at my new invention. It puts my clothes on in an instant. Well, I must be leaving now. Imagine Sholmes pulling, like, the briefcase armor from Iron Man 2. But it just puts him in his detective's outfit. Yes, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes. Ha! You really are a shameless liar sometimes, my dear fellow. What? You seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you would be wasting your time. Thought hadn't crossed my mind. Now I'm wondering where you're going. Well then, see you later indeed. Iris, I need you to go tail Sholmes. Listen to him. He's still laughing on his way out the door.
Alright then, Bruno. Let's get going.
Oh, Iris? What are you wearing? This is a cute outfit.
I've got changed to go to the Great Exhibition. You're going to take me.
What? But I was just about to go to the Supreme Court.
Oh, well, that sounds fun too. You're going to take me there too, then.
Alright, fine. Just lower that weapon, would ya?
Of course, and after the Supreme Court, then we'll go and see the Great Exhibition.
But Iris, I really need you to go and tail Sholmes. Objection, it was Maya. Avan Gamer, how are you doing? Welcome in. It's been about 6 months now since I was last here. Some things never change, like the sense of foreboding I always seem to feel in this place. Doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. She's happily reading over there. Also, random thing, my mom for Christmas actually gave me a t-shirt with this scene, and Ryunosuke and Susato on it.
Oh, I love this place. I always find so many interesting books here.
Of course, I was forgetting that you've been here before. Time we came here 6 months ago. Oh yeah. Susato-san was given the news that she was to return to Japan. Ah, I understand you wish to speak with me. I actually don't remember what I did for Strongheart's race. Oh, Lord Strongheart, I trust you've been keeping well? Let's see. Since you arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. My apologies. Oh no, not at all. I like nothing more than standing around staring into space. Good to know. Should sleep soon. If you end up leaving, have a good night, Sachi. Good to know that doesn't appear to bother him at all. Hail Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of London. He's the man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. He'd only savor the air for a moment in his grand office to understand his preeminent status. As you will be aware, the Great Exhibition of London is now underway at last. We're extremely busy as a result, policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, dealing with petty crime. And furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium. Oh, I've not heard about that. Investigating authorities from 40 countries around the globe will be taking part, including from your own land. Forensic science is the future. The world must embrace it. As we're the hosting nation, I have much to do. It's my highest priority. If others must wait for my attention as a result, so be it. Well, it's nice to know where I stand. So, you wish to consult with me? Of course, I can very well imagine what this is about. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I want to be allowed to start working as a defense lawyer again in court. That's what brought me here today. But actually, there's something else playing on my mind as it happens.
Bruno, just take a deep breath and come out with it.
I actually came here today to ask for your permission. Go on. 6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked, and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened, but the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend somebody under the rules of a foreign justice system. And I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Here it comes. Sure you haven't forgotten about your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role. Well, that's true. Japanese government actually sent my best friend on the study tour, not me. Should have been Kazuma. So determined to bring change to our own justice system at home. That was his calling. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Asogi was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him. His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? Sorry? The mission with which that young law student was charged What do you suppose it really was? What do you mean? Mission? He's not making any sense. Never mind. I've read all the reports you submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your actions and have been studiously obeying your revised instructions. Do you mean... As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful news, Runo.
In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope.
Of course. Please tell me more.
You described it as a curious affair. Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday?
Oh, no. Yes, I read about it. A professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see. How was it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think.
Instantaneous kinesis? As in, moving things with a click of the fingers?
That's right. It's just what my herbal blends need. A dash of devil-may-care.
See you tomorrow for Van Zeeks' boyfriend. Have a good night, Sachi. Whatever this serious accident was, it clearly captured Iris's imagination. It's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. Odi Asman? Inventor and well-known figure in society. A large explosion?
A man died?
The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Harebrain. That's a good name. That's a really good name. He was detained immediately after the incident and is due to appear in court tomorrow. On the charge of murder.
What? Murder?
You intend to take on his defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There's very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation.
Great exhibition. Scientific experiment gone wrong, and... murder? Feel out of my depth before I've even started. Still. We should go to the prison straight away then, and try to meet with this German professor, don't you think?
Definitely. Yes. One more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper.
Oh, with Lord Van Zeeks? How?
All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Exhibition. Next month, the largest and most important of them will take place at last. The International Forensic Science Symposium.
It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it?
Exactly. London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling. So it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly. The future of policing. Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Oh dear, that's alarming. Exactly. It's extremely alarming. I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure. Numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim. Sorry? By way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail everyone now. What?
Oh, how fascinating.
It all began 15 years ago. I was... And that more or less sums up my feelings on the matter. In the simplest of terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Oh, right, yes, that's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now.
Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful?
Actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this? The reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition. Of course. No, not that. The story on the back page. What story? Reaper attacked. Ah, that. I've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not?
Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he?
There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zieks would not be so easily dispatched, I assure you. Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know. Very well. If it interests you. It does, strangely. Fortunately, Lord Van Zieks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter. But that's incredible! They were armed with guns! Why was he attacked, though? Do we know? It's related to events that occurred a month ago. The leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zieks. But the man was acquitted. I have no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes. Large sums of money? Deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, man in question met a dramatic end yesterday. But you're not suggesting it was the work of the Reaper, surely? The victim's henchmen certainly seemed to think so. He was a man by the name of Assman. Mr. Odie Assman. Did you say Assman?
Is that the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition?
Yes, his name was Assman because he really liked that ass. Yes, known publicly as an investigator, but in reality the head of a significant criminal organization. Unbelievable. I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart? Try me. Why do you use Lord Van Zeeks as a prosecutor? All the criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zeeks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still. Something's clearly going on here. Van Zeeks work for the prosecution's service for two reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom or following his trials are nothing to do with him. But that doesn't make sense. How can you explain the way so many have died if not by someone's hand? Van Zeeks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper. He's no killer. So we'll continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues may be starting to fidget. 11 hours late? That's quite something. That meeting had already started when I arrived back here for this engagement with you. So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man. I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh yes, where would I find Lord Van Zeeks now? I would assume he's at his office. Right, I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth. Away with you. I'm leaving Professor Hairbrain's defense entirely in your hands. Of course, yes. Thank you very much, my lord. I like that dialogue.
What a fun place. Oh, I'd love to strip that clock apart, you know?
Ooh, this is a fancy office. He's got so many chalices in the case on the side.
Oh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office.
Fancy schmancy, yep. Yes, it appears so.
It sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere.
Oh, is that... That hooded figure was so still I hadn't noticed his or her presence. Wonder who it is. What are you doing here? Ah! Oh. He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am. So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? No punishment is taking place here. Oh. That's my apprentice. And he's sitting there of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. Must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. He's very able in combat. Requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? Simon Belmont from Castlevania? Yeah. Honestly, his facial structure and hair reminds me of Trevor from the Castlevania anime, despite the fact that I've never seen the Castlevania anime. You're referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers. The Reaper. I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming that he is such a fabled fiend, genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms. Lord Strongheart said that the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack? True. Carried out by henchmen of the Odie Asmon's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably some hoped to kill me before that happened. Odie Asmon. He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers. A global investor. Oh, gosh. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhanded means, via his criminal activities.
And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, did he? Or didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper.
But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances. It was a most unusual cause of death. I know about that. It was a super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Asmon died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion. Correct. Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you? Well, no, that does seem a little far-fetched. Hey, Not Normal, how are you doing? Welcome back. We finished the last case, we're starting on the next one. Though it doesn't look like we're gonna be able to get too far, because my voice is starting to give out on me a bit. This man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of this particular death at least.
It's strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Runo? I mean, what with you taking on the professor's defense for the trial tomorrow?
What? We're going to be defending him? Oh yes, that's right. Though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest. Albert. Albert Harebrain. That's right. Do you know him by any chance? Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together. You're...
What?
I'd understood that Professor Harebrain was from Germany, though. Harebrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, moved to Germany to carry out research. That's all. So you were students together. I was in the Faculty of Law, of course. He in science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along. Though I've not met him, since my university days. I certainly did not expect our next encounter to take this form. Why does he have a stand of champagne bottles near his window? He drinks them during court. And not only that, he has a really bad tendency of either smashing one of his, like, 25 chalices that he has underneath it. He has a tendency to either smash them, throw them into the sconce behind him, or throw the entire ass bottle of wine into the gallery behind him. And with you, of all people, representing him. Only if I make it out of this office alive. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems. Yes, I know. As the prosecution, be handled by me. By you? But you made it sound as if you and the professor had been friends. We are friends, it's true. His voice has gone down an octave. Then why would you do this?
If the Reaper is the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed.
What's Lord Van Zeek's thinking? Don't you want wine to be kept in cellars? I thought, like, wine cellars are primarily for, like, keeping it cool, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm pretty sure that he goes through more than 3 bottles in a day. So I'm sure that this is just, like, his... And aging the wine in the cellar, yeah. I'm pretty sure that he goes through those 3 bottles in a day. Like, I think he's got something that stores it safely, and he's got 3 bottles that he just has next to his desk for quick consumption. What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean... I'm a crown prosecutor, mortal like any other. I'm no demigod.
But they all died, haven't they? The people you've prosecuted, I mean. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal.
Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People who, without question, deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them. But... that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all.
Nor was Ginny. In fact, she's ever so hardworking now.
Oh, is she, like, out of prison? Can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. Any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances. It was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work. Lord Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way.
But you were attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true.
Apparently green bottles can withstand about 18 hours in sunlight before the wine is affected. The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially. Oh, appear. Even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives. Do you mean to say... I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly and with honor.
But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed.
If that is my fate, let God decide.
Lord Van Zeeks. Did you know that I'm a lawyer, Van Zeeks? I know you've seen this around my arm before, but...
What is it exactly?
It's the mark of a defense lawyer, in Japan at the least.
What's your reason for showing it to a British prosecutor?
Oh, well, I don't know, really.
I can understand, at least. There's merit in reminding yourself of who helped you become what you are today.
Oh.
But that's a personal matter. Something you may want to keep something you may want to keep close at all times. Not something to flaunt.
No, suppose not. Thank you for understanding, though. Wait, completely random thing. Did anyone see the texture? Yeah, it's right there. There's a little bit of texture tearing right here between his arm and his torso. Lord Van Zeeks, about the article in this paper.
Ah, yes. It seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place.
Van Zeek's bust is so big he rips his clothes. Do you think that Van Zeeks would be able to take... Actually, no. I was about to say, do you think he'd be able to take off his, like, his army uniform in, like, one swift motion like the Yakuza characters do with their suits? But then I was like, wait a sec. He actually does that already with the cloak.
I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me.
He looks damn good in a top hat, though.
It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away, though.
Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them.
But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it? Oh, look! There's the wine casks!
As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice.
Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him. You're getting good at taking care of the kid against your will.
He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose.
Ah, like you are to Hurley then, Bruno.
I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detective.
He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack.
It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask?
On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity.
But why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual?
Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There'll be a good reason for his actions.
I hope you're right.
Ah. Task is complete. Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs. Nice to meet you? Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed, and yet... somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice, anyway? Oh no, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to... The way he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. It couldn't be. Yes. There's something I've been meaning to ask you. Oh? What's that? That Nipponese man. Is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago. With the stoop and the mustache and the jitters. Ah, Mr. Natsume, you mean?
I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Runo.
He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yes, thank you for the advice, and for the conversation. Can't believe he's asking after Soseki-san, after a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried.
I never imagined that Mr. Reaper would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books.
Mad scientist? Ah, you mean Professor Hairbrain? Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zieks, I think. Okay, we'll investigate around a little bit in Van Zieks' room because I'm curious as to what flavor dialogue we'll get. But I'm gonna go ahead and end stream just the slightest bit early because I'm starting to hit the edge of my voice capabilities. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Exclamation point Discord if you want to join the Discord. Exclamation point socials if you want to follow the VODs channel or my Blue Sky where I post art. Otherwise, give me just a sec and we will find someone to raid. It's always nice having y'all around. All of you. Ooh, Lapis is streaming Eld. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Fingers crossed that my voice isn't absolutely shredded to pieces tomorrow. If it isn't, we'll be streaming more of this. If not, there might be a break game. You know the drill. But yeah, other than that, I guess, have a good one and take care.